I was curious to ask everyone here, like another potential counterexample is the natural language to SQL idea that has been around for years and years and has never really taken off. And I always wondered how much of that is because it's hard to build and implement, and how much of it is it because it's actually like it's not as simple as just I need someone to like translate my thoughts into a SQL query. It's knowing like the right questions to ask about the data and like having some representation of how the pieces fit together. You have to have some sense of like the relational database in your head, at least the concepts to ask the right questions. If it's true that there is some step before of like thinking involved, then you can't just extrapolate from like, hey, it's just like we started with like, you know, binary code and we just like abstracted all the way eventually to natural language. There's going to be some like gap between like the highest level of abstraction you can get in actual natural language.
I think so. I mean, we kind of looked into a lot of these kinds of ideas and funded some companies doing this kind of idea. I think AI will get to the point that you could actually do the translation from English to SQL, but I think the hardest part is not that. The problem with all these data modeling, why data engineering orgs are so big, because when I had to kind of manage these teams, they're very messy. The reason is because the hardest part is the data modeling, because that's trying to encapsulate the real world, and the real world is messy. We have all these like annoying coefficients of frictions that we have to model. It's like, okay, this person talks to who, and this workflow works to who, and it's all very, very messy that a perfect model and AI can't really encapsulate. And you kind of need the human to kind of think to it.
Yeah.
And that layer is like, how do you put an LLM to kind of parse through that and translate to the business requirements of the data model? Because if the data model is wrong, then it just causes all sorts of issues. And that's where things get hard. What do you think, Jared?
I have a controversial argument
All right.
against what Jensen said. This one will probably piss some people off.
Nice.
My argument is that even if everything that Jensen predicts comes true, and in the future you will be able to build a great app just by writing English,